Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our App Maker office hours for June 29th, 2017. My name is Chris Schalk, and I'm also joined by James Ferreira. So just to kind of give you a little bit of an update on what we will be showing, I'm going to go ahead and show a few more samples that we have recently put into the product, and just kind of talking about the overall samples efforts as a whole. And then I'm going to hand it over to James Ferreira, who's basically going to walk us through a little bit of what he's been doing. So, James, are you online? Do you want to give a little intro of what you'll be talking about?
Yeah, great to be back. We've had a few weeks off on office hours. We've just been so busy with the beginning of the summer. Wanted to remind everybody to definitely use the live chat on YouTube to ask questions. We'll watch those come in and we'll try to answer them as we're going along, so that we have that interaction and answer those questions as you think of them.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of jump into what I'm going to do. So basically, I wanted to kind of emphasize that AppMaker is, there's not just the product, but there's a lot of like extra stuff that's been. It looks like there's some extra noise on the chat, so it looks like that's on your side, James or Brandon. So anyway, just wanted to mention that AppMaker itself is a, it's both a product as well as there is essentially, a whole bunch of stuff that you can really dig into for learning how to use AppMaker. So for example, there's these guides, which are essentially tutorials that walk you through. If you're literally starting from scratch, there's like your typical Hello World, or in this case, Hello AppMaker. And then the thing that I definitely want to touch on today is we have like a pretty good set of relatively straightforward samples that are designed to kind of showcase like a specific feature or two or three at most, but they're not necessarily very complex. And so in this sense, if you're new to AppMaker, or if you're not fully like familiar with like all the features of AppMaker, this is like a good way to familiarize yourself into AppMaker and learn some of the core concepts in AppMaker. And then, of course, in the product itself, just so that you always have the option. Let me just go ahead and create an app here. You always have an option of using the built-in templates. So as I'm building a new application, I could click on the new menu, and then you'll have all of these template applications. Now, these template applications, with the exception of this starter app, which is mainly just kind of like a UI boilerplate, these template applications are fairly sophisticated, and you can really learn a lot of coding techniques within AppMaker by trying out these applications. But if you're brand new to AppMaker, they could be a little bit much, because there's a lot of code goes into them, because these are essentially completed solutions. So in that case, what I'm going to do, at least for today, is to show you some of these samples that have been in development for the last few months or so. So I think in one of our previous office hours, one of our engineers was showing some of these ones, like the dry picker or calculated model. I might go back into those again just to kind of give you a refresh on those. But let me just pull up one that I think is pretty cool. This is a calendar a sample application. So the cool thing about this is that, providing you have your AppMaker instance up and running in your domain, you can go to the docs and literally just click on one of these links here. And so this gets you to like just a simple home page for that sample. And when you click on Open Sample, that will actually take the sample and copy it to your AppMaker editor instance. And so now it's made a copy, and now I'm good to go. I have the calendar sample, and in this case, it's kind of, I can walk through the code a little bit. So there's like a fragment for the header, and then the actual sample itself, which is mainly just a UI. And then here you can see there's a create event. This is for creating a calendar event. And so just to show you also, there's a little bit of code here that's grabbing the form elements. There is a little bit of validation, and then there's the code to actually provide so the drop downs for the AM, PM, and things like that. I won't go through all these lines, but you can definitely try this out and get it up and running on your own side. There is also the server side event, which is down here. You can see the google.script.run, and it says create calendar event, and it sends the actual the actual event name, the start date, end date, and so forth. And so just to show you how that works, I'll just go over to the server portion, and there it is. And the real magic of this is that once you're on the server and you're using the AppScript calendar app bean, or the service, it's relatively straightforward. You create an event and you can set up the event information right there. You can even set the event color. So it will render itself in that particular color. All right, so pretty straightforward stuff. And then once I create the event, over on the right side, there's like just a display page which shows all the events within a specific date range. All right, so I'll just click preview. And since it's my first preview for the brand new app, it'll give me a few extra steps for authorization. So just to review the permissions for this account. And I'll click allow. So it's basically allowing the application to view and manage my calendars. So basically giving it authorization. And so there I have a calendar test event. Let's go ahead and create a new one. I'll try pale red perhaps. So this is just kind of for fun. And for this one, I can even select something maybe into the future here. So I'll put like, yeah. Oh, I could just keep it the same. Interesting.
Just click the next month arrow.
What's that?
Click the next month arrow in your calendar.
Oh, yes.
And then you're able to select. Okay.
There we go. That's strange. I think, anyway, something to think about there. That's funny. I just ran through this a second ago. But anyway, you get the picture. I'll go ahead and let's go ahead and create the event there. So both starting at roughly 1 and finishes at 2. And then I'll click on that. And so there's my new event. And if I wanted to query from a larger range, I could go like that. And this was the event that I created earlier where I created something on the 4th of July. And so I just changed the filter. So yeah. So that's, anyway, definitely feel free to play around with it. I'm obviously just, hacking around with it myself. Let me show you another one. So I'll just go back into, so one of the things that I noticed is that when you do click these, it does eat up your window. So it doesn't have necessarily the target blank to generate a new one. So let's see, let's go ahead and the translation one, or let's do drive picker. I'll just step into that really quickly. All right, so there's the application, and as you can see here, it's pretty straightforward. It's using actually this widget right here. Picker. So this is the magic that makes it happen. So I could drop that on there, and that would be the actual widget that triggers the drive picker window to pop up. And that's it. So I'll go ahead and fire that up. Also, I'll just show you as I actually grab the values, I can actually place that into the properties of the widget itself. So without further ado, I'll click preview. All right, so there's my UI there, and I'll click on the drive picker window. And let's say if I want to grab a particular file there. I'm not sure why it's popping up without the images. Let's give it a, there we go. All right, so as you can see, it's kind of hard to notice, but basically I just selected a file and I have all the details of that file. So I have the name, the file name, the file URL, et cetera, et cetera. And if I wanted to, I could like pop that open as well. So that just happens to be like one of our demo spreadsheets. Let's see, I'll do another one. So a lot of people are asking, so how do I make it so that I can upload? Well, you can actually just use this file picker and have the upload capability. So in this case, if I just want to upload a particular file, and once it's uploaded, I'll get all the details back from the picker. And so that you can see my list.csv and its drive URL. So that's pretty much it. That's pretty basic. Let me show one more possibly, and then I can hand it over to James. Let's see. Let's do this. Actually, no, I don't. Let me do this one here. The calculated model one is actually pretty cool. Calculated models, in case you're not familiar, it just provides a way to generate a set of values entirely by using scripting. So, it's one thing that, actually, I think James, one of his first courses was how to build calculated models. And so it's actually pretty handy bit of knowledge to know within MapMaker. So anyway, in this case, there's basically it's going to generate some test data, and then you can see essentially it's the data as it's pulled out, and then it will show up a chart view. So it shows like the different charts and how that works. All right, so let me just go ahead and push preview on that one. And again, since these are the first runs of these applications, it takes a little while for the authorization handshake to trigger the essentially the flow. All right, so now we have our app up and running. So we jumped to the statistics. So here's the main page. That's the one you want to start on. And so let's go ahead and generate some test data. So now we have some data to play with, and this got generated automatically. And then when we see statistics, that just throws us over into the chart view there. So pretty straightforward stuff. Let's do one more, and then I'll hand it over. Let's do the spreadsheet one. This is also a very popular topic. So I'll click Open Sample. All right, so let's just jump right into it. Well, we can dig open the code a little bit. So we do have like a spreadsheet here. It's just referring to the ID. And you'll notice that, let's see, yeah, it actually shows a fair amount more of things that you can do where it's utilizing the server-side routines. So the spreadsheet app, open by ID, and then essentially getting the data. There's a few other things here. Get the cell value, where you can get within a range in a spreadsheet and things like that. All right, so let's go ahead and switch back here. Click on Preview. All right, so there's the ID. Click on that. And so there's basically an example of how to fetch some of the data. In this case, I can go in and actually change some of the values and stuff like that. Let's see if there's anything else. So I could actually go out and look at the actual spreadsheet itself. All right. Also, if you haven't tried this, there's actually some good content, and James also has something to say about spreadsheet data import and export as well. You can actually learn how to fetch an entire spreadsheet and populate it into a data model pretty easily. And let me just show you how that works. I might have to, oops. Going slightly off script here. Anyway, we have code labs where actually I walk people through how to actually do like the full steps. I had the short link for it. I had to, because we don't necessarily have, so we have like a set of like a mechanism for short links internally, but the external short link I don't quite have. But anyway, I'll probably step back off of that one, and then I might let James take over, and I might pull up the code labs towards the end of the office hours just to show you a little bit of that. So hopefully that's helpful, at least for now. I can probably get back into other things. Oh, I didn't show the iframe. I can show that really quickly just to kind of show you how that works. So again, let me just go back over. This one's kind of fun. The samples page. Click on iframe. Generate the copy for the iframe app. So there we go. Now you'll see there's a little warning here. That just lets you know that you're checking this unsafe HTML, and that's essentially to allow the widget to give control to the widget itself. But there is some code in this here that will also help clean up or provide an extra level of protection. And so there is this sanitization. So essentially, the sanitization is going to be handled within scripting here, which I'll show you here, app.sanitizer, sanitize URL. So it's a way of basically getting the best of both worlds where I can actually pull in the content, but then manually sanitize the URL at the same time. All right, so let's go ahead and click preview. And this sample actually has like an example URL, which you might find familiar. All right, so there you go. There's a video that you probably know. It's our introduction video for AppMaker.
You're on Google.
So anyway, and then you can try out other URLs here for this particular sample. Also, I should say, regarding iframes, there is another use case that has not really been doable up until recently. And that use case is basically to allow you to embed an AppMaker app inside of an iframe from another application. So we do actually have this feature enabled. Well, it's now finished in development, and it's internally running on our QA server. And then once that's finalized, we'll push it out to production. But basically, it's an application setting where you can click on the checkbox in the setting that says allow embedding into another app, basically. So that will allow you to integrate an AppMaker app into a variety of other things. Now, one thing I should say is that the ability to import or embed an AppMaker app inside of an iframe within the new Google Sites is not quite online yet, but that's something that's being worked on right now. So anyway, something to keep in mind as you go forward with that.
Hey,
All right,
Chris,
so,
one question we had there, is it possible to pass data from AppMaker into an iframe?
Pass data?
Yeah, into the iframe itself, from AppMaker into the iframe.
Like when you say data, like what exactly do you mean?
Yeah, so is it like the HTML widget where it's the HTML is what's in the HTML widget?
If you're saying like, well, my gut feeling is probably not, but you could always experiment. If you're essentially creating like content that then can be pulled into an iframe and you're generating it via, I don't know, if you're strictly speaking data, like if you override a do-get or something like that and generating data, you could try something like that. But if I understand your question correctly.
Yeah, well, actually, it was a question off of our live chat there.
Okay.
But yeah, I think what their meaning is, and I'm thinking about this as well, and because an iframe is just displaying the data that's being brought in from that URL. I'm guessing if you had some URL parameters, you could probably pass those in, right? Because you're creating the URL to call for the iframe. So if you passed in the parameters first, as long as the iframe, what's running in the iframe can read those parameters, it seems like that would be one way to pass some data.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In that context, yeah, I would agree with that. But yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to at least? I didn't have the chat window open.
Yeah. No. Nope. That was it for now.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and hand over I'll let you present, and if you want to take over on some of the stuff you were going to show.
Yeah, awesome. So hello, everybody. So James Ferreira from Ignite Synergy, which is our development branch, and then AppMaker University, which is our training branch. We're pretty excited. We've been working with a lot of people on AppMaker training and stuff like that, but also from the business perspective. So we're working with a lot of partners and just trying to find out, where AppMaker kind of positions and what some of the opportunities are. And, we're still looking at one of the things that is happening is that traditionally built web applications are still really super expensive to develop. Just a A simple database-driven application for your website is going to run somewhere around $25,000, and they just go up from there depending on how sophisticated they are. And it's just, so that's why they've been so unapproachable. And really what's pushed so many people into using spreadsheets with forms attached to them to kind of be that, they want it to be an app, but it's not really an app, it's a form with a spreadsheet, and you don't have good data access control and the ability to customize it to be exactly what you want. So we're still seeing that be a real problem, trying to raise awareness with businesses that's really the area that AppMaker shines, because you can have data in a really structured data model, be able to keep track of it, be able to scale it well, and control the access to it, create the custom views, and all the things you just can't do with a spreadsheet. So we're seeing a lot of people moving over from that. We are finding out that early training is really critical. It's the part where AppMaker is an amazing product, but there's a little bit of learning curve, right? Starting out of the box, so trying to figure out how things work. So we're always trying to figure out how to make that a lot easier. But the clients we are working with, they're seeing just at least, and what we see on our end too, on our custom development side of things, is we're seeing 90% reductions in the cost to build applications on AppMaker as opposed to doing it with traditional web technologies. It's just so dang fast. You could throw together, in literally minutes, you could throw a mock-up together of what you want to build and have it running with real data and start interacting with it just, in no time at all. And then it just, the more features you want to add, you're just bolting on more and more stuff. But the other thing we're finding is we have some projects, some of our larger clients that we've been working with, that they have applications that have been running for about 6 months. And what we're finding is they're really easy to maintain, because AppMaker gives you great structure for how your app's going, so you don't have all this code sprawl that typically accumulates with large applications. And so it keeps it in nice tidy boxes, and you end up with something that's very easy to maintain even 6 months later after doing some of the initial coding, and then you're just doing upgrades. So it's really nice. Customers are saving a lot of money. The other thing we're finding is we're working a lot with Google partners to just raise the awareness of the product that's out there, and to give them some tools to go out and sell the AppMaker concept to their clients, that their clients don't necessarily know they need it. They're just dealing with these horrible spreadsheets and thinking that that's all better it's ever going to get, not knowing that there's a product right there that's available for them to use today that they could start accessing. So it's great. So on our library front, I just want to give a kind of a quick update about the AMU library, which is an open source program that if you're a JavaScript developer, or AppScript developer especially, and want to join in, you've got some AppMaker experience too, we'd love to have you join in and help out on the library. But it is definitely an open source project that we're pushing out there. We want to, I've been starting to do some videos on the AMU, the AppMaker University website, and getting that information out there so that you can understand how the libraries work and what they do. And basically what it is we're trying to make it easier. So I've been writing AppScript code for like 6 years now, so it's just really natural and easy to just jump into that. But as we're training people, and we've trained dozens of people now, the part they struggle the most is writing code, because they're like, well, this is really great, I can build a UI and I can do this stuff, but now I want to do just a little bit more. And we say, oh, okay, you have to write some scripts. And they freak out because they're not JavaScript developers. And so some of those really common things, what we're starting to do is we're putting those in the library. And let me just switch over here. we've got a couple videos here. You'll be able to rewind this and play this video on YouTube later, so you'll be able to get these links. I tried to use some short links in different places to show you what some of them do. But I want to show you one of the templates that we just built. And I'm just going to move that screen over. Just 1 second here. And so we've got this template that we also built, which I have the link in that previous slide, so you can go back and see that. And what it is it's just an example of how we're doing imports into. So this is from the AppMaker already has this great built-in system for importing data. If you're the administrator, you can just go to your table and just click on the button up here that says import from sheet and select your sheet and do that. But if you're wanting that to happen on the user side of things, on the UI side of things, there really isn't a way to do that unless you write the code for it. And so it's a lot of code. It's a couple hundred lines of code that you have to write to make that happen. And instead of having you do that, what you decided to do is, well, since it's really common, and as long as you stay within a certain set of parameters, you can actually just use a library to do this. So what that means is we take that 100 lines of code and we condense it down into just one command. So here it is. It's amu.import.fromSpreadsheet. We pass in the widget, which is this button, and then we have this parent descendants SID value. And what that is that's just this text box right here. We just gave it a name, SID. And so that's just getting that name, and so that imports it. And let me just actually show you how that works. So we'll click over here to the app that's running, and I did want to call your attention to the instructions. I did write some instructions out here, so you kind of take a look at how this thing works, what the different parameters in the function actually mean, so that it's a little easier to use. And then of course down at the bottom is the link for the library itself. When you import the library, I'll show you that when we go back to the code in a second. So I just copied, I provided a spreadsheet too. I just copied and pasted that ID right here. Every spreadsheet has an ID. You can find them, they all look like this. You just click import, and it's going to first go through and import the data from the spreadsheet, process through it, and then you'll see it start sticking it into your table here, where now we're reloading the table, and there you get the data that we took from that spreadsheet. So, so that's kind of a neat function to that. I was going to show you the AMU library. Actually, you just copy it over from the app script, from the repository here. And you just copy these files, these two files, and just put them straight into your project. It's that simple. It's really straightforward to add it to there, and then you don't need to mess with those files. You can just use them. If you want to see how the code's actually written, of course that's part of it too, is you can go through and dissect it. That'll help you learn a little bit of the JavaScript and AppScript that goes into writing this stuff. The other part that we can do is I want to show you the drive picker portion, because often people are like, well, I don't want my user to copy an ID. That's just silly. So I want to show you two things in this example. So one is in this part of the template, we have the drive picker. This is the drive picker widget over here. And what we do is we put the library on this on-document select. And what the on-document select feature of the drive picker is after you've picked the document and it's gone and it's uploaded it to Drive, it's going to send back information, and then it's going to run this piece. So whatever you put inside here runs just like a function. So in this case, it's the same amu.import.fromSpreadsheet. We still pass the widget through, but now we're going to use the result from the drive picker. That's what this is here. And this is the first document that comes back. Right now the drive picker only returns one document, but we still have to use this here for getting the ID, and that just gives us the ID of what we uploaded. And then the second parameter is actually the name of the database. That's over here in the green, the import data. And then we have the parameters that we can pass through it. So in this case, we have CSV, which marked true. You also, if you have an Excel file, that also gets marked true because they're both treated the same way. So we do a conversion. You do have to have the Drive Advanced service running in your project, which is very simple to set up. Also, the unique field, if we're using, in this case, we don't want to get duplicate data into our database. We only want to have stuff that we uploaded. So I have a field called ID that is the same in my spreadsheet, and it's just numerically ordered so that I can upload the spreadsheet like 15 times and it won't get 15 different copies of the spreadsheet. It'll just update the fields that I've changed. And then these are the fields I want to import. So if I left fields out of here, it would just import all the fields, but I can also just specify which specific fields I want to. So it's got a couple advanced features, not a huge deal.
That's actually a challenge that sometimes people hit when they're fetching data from a spreadsheet, and then having to go back and then write their own specific code to make it such that it only grabs, say, like new records or whatever. But I didn't realize that you had included that in your library. That's very cool.
Yeah, it seemed like something that I was constantly having to deal with on my own. So, it became a hassle for me. So I figured if I had to fix it for myself, I'd probably better fix it for everybody else too. So, but yeah, no, this definitely does help with that. And I'll show you how that's actually working here. So let's go ahead and switch over to that, and I put some buttons up here at the top so the template's easy to navigate. But so here's our 44 records still in here, and I'll just create, we'll get rid of George, even though I think he's going to show up at the bottom of the list. And I just deleted a couple out of here. So now we're down to 39 records. And if I use the drive picker here, and then I'm just going to drag a file, it's going to ask for uploads, and you find a file to drag in there. So I'm just going to drop an Excel file in here, and it does the upload. And now we're processing the file, and it takes a little bit longer to process this because because this is a Microsoft Excel file, we've got to convert it over to a Google Doc, and then we can actually do the upload of the data. And so it takes care of all that stuff. Again, if you're really interested in how those things happen, then take a look at the code in the library and you'll be able to see how that happens. So you can see now we're back up to 44 records. They're not sorted here. So here's George down here. These are the records that I deleted. And you can see that not all the columns I wanted updated, so we didn't get the birthplace.
So also another thing, just to point out, that's really cool that you've essentially encoded the ability to grab your Excel file and to transform it automatically. Whereas like typically in the past, like when we would come up to similar use cases, we would just, people would just manually upload, let it convert, essentially sheets convert it, and then once they get their final converted sheet, then they can interact with it. But there is still that manual process. So that's really cool that you've actually integrated that into your library, I guess, to do that.
Yeah, and it's great for once you really start getting into this stuff and start getting a little more information, you'll have a place to start. If you were like, well, I need to convert something in Drive, this is going to be, you'll have a little piece of code that you can start doing that. So it's exciting stuff. Yeah, we like to build neat libraries that can help out on that stuff. I think that's all I had to show you on here. That's the basics of how it works, but it definitely makes it easier for you. So if you don't want to get into the coding, if that's just not your thing, then it's just one command with a couple of parameters, and that makes it a lot easier for people to digest. If they're just getting started in AppMaker, but this is a really big high priority function that they want to do, it really is just a simple line of code. And these also, the AppMaker team has done just an amazing job on these. I don't know if it's going to show up here. Yeah, there we go. If you click on one of the parameter areas, it will show you what these different things mean. And what the parameters mean and that kind of thing. You can always go read the documents in the library itself. The library has comments throughout, so it'll tell you what the parameters mean and things like that you might be trying to pass in and what they look like. So great work on that, by the way, Chris.
Thanks to the team. But yeah, no, it's the team has been definitely hard at work on a number of different features, and so yeah, definitely. It looks like it's
yeah. Well, that's all I had to show on those updates there. But yeah, if you're wanting to learn about this stuff, we do teach all of this stuff in our boot camp. Our boot camp's definitely the fastest way to get up and running with AppMaker. We've had dozens of people go through the boot camp. They really do like it. It's a great experience. I see James Seabach. I see he's on the live chat right now. He was one of our students. But if you want to write a quick comment on there, James, about what you thought of it, that'd be great. But we really do enjoy working with you guys, and getting out there and meeting everybody and figuring out what they're doing with AppMaker and just trying to push it further and further forward. So it's just because we do see that it's a massively valuable piece of software that allows you to make more valuable pieces of software. So.
Hey James, I don't know if you can see my screen. I pulled up the Code Labs.
Oh, awesome.
And so as long as you can see my screen, I can kind of walk through just a little bit. But basically what I wanted to mention is that not so many people know about this, mainly because we've been using this primarily for kind of like some ad hoc training. We have some internal teams here that we've also been helping to get up to speed. But these are published. They're available to anyone who belongs to the AppMaker users group. So we'll just make sure we post links to how to join. Also, you can actually jump into the AppMaker users group directly from AppMaker itself. So it's like there's a link in the forum. Actually, I could probably show that to you right now, just so you know. Let me go up here. I'll just grab my apps here, and then under the see down here where it says support. This is actually very, very important to know how to do that. So like, for example, if I wanted to jump over to the forum, this literally takes me right to the forum for AppMaker. And you can see there's the forum full URL, appmaker-users. It's a public group. If you haven't joined yet, definitely recommend joining it. And you can see all the questions folks are asking. James chimes in a fair amount. And then we have our engineers directly. They'll also jump in and answer a few questions. But the thing I was going to say for the Code Labs is that once you've joined the user group, the AppMaker users, you'll also be able to access this URL. I'll put a short link, because we've had a short link in the past. I'll just post a short link to the group as well, or just the regular URL. It's like sites.google.com, blah, 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 AppMaker Code Labs -v3. So v3 just means that it's kind of like the third iteration. It's going back to March of this year, but basically the thing that I thought you might find interesting is that when you get into the scripting Code Lab, James was referring to like the how to manually deal with spreadsheet data. So if you want to, you can actually go through and follow this Code Lab, and it will explain how to, well, do a number of things, like sending an email, things like that. So how to manage a form, and then how to use the data APIs and scripting, which is very important. But you'll also notice here is that if you want to, you can see how to, let's see, I'll find it in a second. It was like, there we go. Fetching data from a spreadsheet. That's obviously the similar stuff that James was showing with the library. But this is kind of just using the bare bones app script approach, where if you want to go through and write a bit of code, there's like an ID, get the spreadsheet open up like the data range, and then just iterate through. And then using the AppMaker's data API, you can save those records into a data model. And that's pretty much it from a basic, fetching of data. Obviously, it doesn't have the cool feature that James' library has, where you can kind of automatically only fetch new records or specified by that ID parameter that he specified. But anyway, just wanted to mention that, and I can post the links to this stuff as well to the user forum, as well as to the chat. So cool. Anything else? Any questions that we have?
No, it doesn't look like we have any new questions.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, we can probably wrap it up, and then we'll post obviously this information to the forum, and then if you're joining the forum, you can always ask later on, and we'll of course provide links to some of the stuff that we showed. Cool.
Great. Awesome.
Well, unless you don't see anything, I'm happy to kind of switch back over and
yep.
conclude.
All right. Great show. Thanks a lot, Chris.